Thanks very much for joining us for day 2 of Gentleman's Journal Live. Another beautiful day here in the Phillips Gallery. Gentleman's Journal Live, sponsored by Polestar, I should say, our partners in all of this, as well as these other lovely partners. Today we're here to talk about hospitality in 2025, and we've got 3 people who really know what they're talking about. I'll go down the line here. We've got Santiago Lastra, you'll know from Cole and Fonda. I'm sure many of you have eaten there, or at least tried to. We've got Sandia Chang, who started Bubbledogs, and also Chef's Table. And we've got Jess... Kitchen Table, sorry. I know that. That's just pure adrenaline. And Jesse Burgess from TOPJAW, who's now got a new television show out. Do you want to tell us what that's called so I don't get it wrong?
Knife Edge.
Knife Edge, all about chef.
Not out yet, though.
Not
October.
out yet? When's it coming out?
October.
Okay, that's enough promotion, though. Right, so we're going to talk for about 40 minutes. I'm going to ask some questions, and then if you all could add some questions, that would make my life a lot easier as well. Where should we start? I'll sit down, probably. Let's start with the foodie scene in London in 2025. I used to think that everyone had a novel in them. Now I think everyone you meet has a restaurant in them. Everyone would like to be working in the restaurant industry. It is the sort of lingua franca, to use a pretentious phrase, of our age. Why do you think we're so obsessed with chefs, with restaurants, with cooking, with eating, with the places we go out for dinner? Who'd like to take the first question?
I think chefs have been kind of rock stars for a long, long time. But I think people are getting more into the nuts and bolts of restaurants. Because we all have it in common. We can all relate to it. You could talk to somebody about food; they're going to be eating. But also, I think social media. I know, hey, I'm coming from social media perspective here, but I do think it does create a lot more conversation about where you're going, where you're spending time, who you're meeting with, what was that like? And I think that might have pumped
FOMO,
up the restaurant scene.
The FOMO, no? Like the fear
FOMO,
of missing out, no? Yeah, this kind of thing, like you see other people going and you want to go there and you want to have that. But I think also, in my opinion, I see London as a very exciting city because people here, when they see something that is high quality, then there's no way back. Like if someone suddenly make a fresh pasta in like Borough Market, and it's a line outside of like hours, then in your Italian restaurant, you stop doing dry pasta. You're gonna do fresh pasta, and then that is what happened. Because otherwise, you just don't succeed. So it's so competitive that I think in the last 10 years it's been a constant evolution of quality, from specialty coffee to bakeries to wine bars to restaurants, that it just naturally evolve in a really incredible way. So it's the best time to be here eating. Best city ever.
What do you think, Sandy?
I think Netflix, all these chef's tables and Mind of the Chef and just media in general have really promoted our industry, and I think it's great. You know, people know what happened. What's the show, The Bear?
Yeah.
The Bear's a big deal.
The Bear is a big deal because it does happen. It is intense. I can't watch it because I can't relive my day after I go home. But people now know more, which is great, in making our industry a better, more interesting place to be.
You can't fool people anymore, Like if you're gonna give them a taco, they know, like people travel more, like new generations travel more, they have more information in social media, they can see everything. So then at the end of the day, you cannot sell something that is not as good as before. Before it was be like, okay, well that's, and then people will be like, yes, more apologetic, I guess, or like more naive in a way, but then now everyone is more trained. So then that makes it more exciting as well.
Of course. And with shows like The Bear, there's a certain glamour even amongst the stress and the drama. What do you think are the biggest kind of misconceptions that people like me might have about what it's like to actually work and run a kitchen?
No, it's true, It's pretty tough profession, I guess. I think it's also like, I think the thing is that you have to make your time, Like you need to invest some time. Like I've been chef for 20 years, you know, and in the first 10 years, you earn just enough to like share a flat with like 8 people, you know, and then you have to be there like learning and doing hours and hours of work. But it's been like that for a long time. But you have to, like, in a way, you have to like do the hours, you know, to be able to create something. But it depends on which kind of restaurant you work, I guess, you know.
Sandia, what do you think?
All that is true.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a great side of hospitality as well. I think we have a really great community. You know, what he went through, what I went through, what our colleagues have all went through, we kind of bond, and we have a really nice understanding of each other, and creates a really nice support system as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it that first drew all of you to get involved in the world of food from different directions? It would be nice if there was like one life-defining plate of food that triggered everything.
Well, I was a very rare, I think, because a lot of hospitality people just fell into it. I actually grew up when every girl wanted to be a ballerina or I don't know, astronaut. I wanted to be a waitress. That was my dream and my goal. And my dad said to me, "What do you want to do in life?" I said, "I want to make people happy." He said, "Well, okay, two things you can do. You can be a doctor and save lives and make people happier, or you can work in hospitality. But the difference is you're going to be in a hospital if you're going to be a doctor. People that come to see you are in need of help and they're sad and they're sick. Or you can work in hospitality where everybody comes to you looking for a great time." I was like, I know what I want. And then I just studied through, and I also wanted to be a chef for a while, and I didn't have it in me to be a chef. A single plate of food has to be at Alice Waters' restaurant, Chez Panisse. It was anchovies straight from the bay of Monterey Bay. It was simple, just soused and grilled fresh fennels from her garden. And that was it. And it was defining because it was so simple. And at that time, in the early 2000s, everything was classical sauces, and that's what you were taught. And to have a plate of food that was just nothing done to it, really, straight from like 5 miles away, was just incredible.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse? Was there a moment?
Not necessarily a dish. So my mum was cabin crew from when she was 19 through to when she retired when she was 64. And when I was about 5, she started working on private jets, sort of like initially for Mr. Ford, on like before Ford ran out of money and had to sell all the jets. So she was working on those planes. And it was like a lot of work for her. It was just her basically flying people like Rihanna and Simon Cowell and King Charles around the world. And she would then basically bring me back the food that was on the plane. Not necessarily like, oh, I've just been to New York, here's a New York bagel. It would be like, this is the catering from the flight. But it was nuts, you know, because you go from having just like lasagna and sausages at home, and then I'm having like beluga caviar that some Saudi prince hasn't eaten on the plane, it's brought home for me, or like these like seafood platters, like proper Danish pastries. Because to me, like pastries were just from sort of Greggs and St. Neots. But then suddenly I'm having like, what the fuck is that? And I think that from a young age, whereas my brother was like, I'm not having that, no, that looks disgusting. And then I think it just triggered something in me that just became quite obsessed with sort of food and food around the world, like the travel aspect of food. Because I thought my mum was so cool. When she'd come back in, she was like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So I wouldn't see her for 2 weeks, and then she'd come back for 2 weeks. And when she walked through the door, it's like, you know, where have you been? A, what have you got for me, actually, really? And then B, like, where have you been? What was it like? So that was my sort of food little genesis.
That's great. Santi?
I was 15, and I saw this box of Ritz crackers, and in the bag it was this recipe of crab dip, and I decided to not go out that weekend and cook basically buy all the things that were in the recipe and cook it at home for like random strange reason. I never cooked before, and my family didn't cook before, like at home. So I cook it, and everyone loved it. Like my mom liked it, and my dad, and my brother. And I realized later on that instead of crab, I bought crab dip already made. So it was just like a crab dip with more celery, but added into it. But it was amazing to be able to like take ingredients, mix them, and then serve them to people. So then they will be like, "Oh my God, you should have that crab dip again." So every time that someone will come to the house, I will have that crab dip ready. Wow. Fresh, I'll do it fresh every day. Well, every time that someone will come. And then I went back to the supermarket and started buying some, like an Italian recipe booklet. And I started doing lasagna, and I started doing like meatballs, and all these recipes of Italian cooking that I felt that every recipe will be like unlocking a world. Like if you're playing a video game and you unlock like a new world or something like that. And then I realized that I really love to do that. I love to do something with my hands that can give you a new skill. Because in the moment that you know how to do bread or like these little Philadelphia buns, you can do them for life. And it's one of the amazing things because you constantly getting new skills to create new worlds and to make people happy and transforming ingredients with your hands. And the more that you do it, the more delicious it is. Right. Yeah. So then that's what I like.
Do you still make the crab dip when people come?
I haven't done it in a while, but I do a crab dish. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I can do a crab dip.
What's the newest thing you've learned recently then? What's the latest string to your bow?
Oh, that's going to be a really niche answer, but like 3-4 days ago, I was in Colombia, and I went to this region that is called the Cauca Valley, where all the coffee is from, like the good specialty coffee is from, and I had dinner lunch in a village, like in a small little town where these black indigenous women cook for us, and they were having that it's like a little restaurant house for 250 years. Wow. And they keep doing the recipes, really old indigenous recipes from the region. And so then I learned how to cook the corn in an aboriginal way. That is a very different way that we cook the corn in Mexico. Because in Mexico, I don't know if anyways, in Mexico, I'm going to make it really quick. So in Mexico, we cook the corn with calcium hydroxide to make nixtamalization, to do tortillas, and with lime. And then in there, what they do is they soak it and wash it for about like a week and a half. And then after that, they grind it. And then they into like a sticky flour, and then they add water, and then they cook it in the pan. So then it ferments, and it's slightly sour, and it's elastic, and it really tastes like corn with acidity. And so then at the moment, I'm fermenting some corn in the restaurant.
That is very niche.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you ask.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Let's talk about London restaurants now, the state of London hospitality. It's not an easy time to be running and working in restaurants. There was a national insurance hike last month, I think, as well as obviously cost of goods going up and rents and everything like that. Is that a fair characterization? And if so, what can we do to make sure decent restaurants survive?
Yes, it's hard. Yeah. Very hard. I feel like the hardest thing for us is probably staffing. I think after Brexit, it's been really hard because most of the hospitality are made up of, students and travelers from all over Europe. And they're great. They're here to learn English, and we don't have enough hospitality talent in the UK to subsidize all of the restaurants that are opening up now. So we're all trying to, dip into the same talent pool that's super small. Mm-hmm. So that's, for us, is the hardest part.
Yeah. What about you, Santi?
Sorry, I also learned that you can eat, if you mix strawberries with pumpkin seed cream, it's delicious.
Strawberries with pumpkin seeds?
Yeah, strawberries with spicy pumpkin seed cream.
Wow.
So that's easier to make at home,
Can't even imagine.
Yeah.
That's easy to make at home?
Yeah, I do it all the time, come on.
Yeah, like
spicy
literally.
pumpkin seeds.
So you take the pumpkin seeds, you toast them, And then you no, I'm serious. It's incredible.
I'm sure you are.
And then you toast them, and then you blend them with a little bit.
Tell us how hard it is to run your restaurant.
It's pretty hard. No, I mean like restaurants. It's we opened in COVID, in 2020 in October, and we've been open for 5 years, and it's always something, And I think, and I think it's not only in London; it's in all the world. And I think even more fine dining. Like fine dining is it's a very challenging thing. Like you do fine dining, and it's I think people like as you said, like everything is more expensive. There's a lot of people that want to put the hours on and are trained enough. So, but you have to be flexible and positive, The more that you can understand the new generations as well, what they want. At the end of the day, the people that came to the restaurant when we opened, they were in the late 20s 5 years ago. So then now, in 5 years' time, like the people that are 22, 23 are the guests that we're going to have. So then you have to think about the future, what they want,
Wow, okay. Big responsibility. Do you have a sense of what people want? Do you have a crystal ball? What are people going to be wanting in 5 years' time?
Yeah, tell
Maybe
me,
it's
please.
strawberries.
I'll charge for that. No, I'm joking. I think it's about everyone collectively work on like doing things like this. Like telling about the importance of food. And how incredible it is to go to restaurants, and how good it is to have to discover new flavors and new experiences, and see food as something that it's important to bring people together, as a cultural thing, also for people to cook at home more, even though it sounds a bit like that doesn't make sense if you want people to go to restaurants for them to cook at home. But then if people like Jesse, like they get introduced to like incredible ingredients and food when they were kids, then when they're older, they want to see what the professionals, what the people out there are doing, Yeah. So I think goes from the very beginning to then create this, make these people to have a bit more of to get a bit more excited to like learn more and see more, and then like that you can expect people to be like, okay, I want to go to this fine dining restaurant to have this tasty menu, or I just want to go to this casual Greek place that is new that people,
Yeah.
So that's
Or hopefully they get excited and said, I want to work in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
I want to be a chef.
100%.
I want to learn about wine. And
yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
So it comes from there,
Jesse, Jesse, TOPJAW is, among many other things, a great survey of what people really want to eat right now, and sometimes what they definitely don't want to eat right now.
Yeah.
What are the trends you're noticing for 2025? What are people going back to, or what are you noticing?
I think people want more and more casual. So you've opened Fonda, right? And that is probably an observation that you have Cole, which is your fine dining one, and then you're opening Fonda with all the same skill set, training, ingredients, but it's a more casual approach. And I do think it's kind of a bit of a pendulum. Very aware that I have a show coming out in October with Michelin, so ignore all of this. But I think that pendulum swings from being like, okay, we want nostalgia and we want really casual, really accessible, really great value for money. And then when everyone's sort of done with that, then it starts moving into like, oh, okay, I'm going to go and sort of spend a lot of money on something very high end. I think where like fine dining is concerned, I think there's a lot of fascination in it, a lot of interest in it because of the experience. And I think the fine dining restaurants where it's just like, here's our white tablecloth, here's our classic service, here's everything. That is just, there's almost no place for it anymore. And the sort of more experiential places, like, kitchen table, you go there, there's 20 seats, and the guys are only going to cook. What you are having is a snapshot right there. That is the only time that menu will ever be served. The next day is completely different, which must be fucking exhausting. But from experiential point of view,
Yeah.
But from experiential point of view, it's like really fun, and I think people are looking for that. It's experience. It's what they're not going to get anywhere else, and what's different on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And what answers do you sort of mentally roll your eyes at when you hear them? Which answers do you hear, all the time when you ask people about their favourite spots?
The interview series. There's a whole fucking bunch of them. I mean, are you asking what I think is overrated? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, all right. Let's do that.
I think there are some like institutions of London that are slightly Emperor's New Clothes, right? So like River Cafe is what they did 38 years ago when they first opened was mind-blowing. They were bringing, basically in London in that day, I wasn't around, but what I've heard is that a posh restaurant was a French restaurant. Like you have like Gordon Ramsay in 1999, he was doing French food, he was learning French. That's what it was. And River Cafe were like, we're going to do something really actually quite conceptually very different. Italian food with really great ingredients, served in a way you've never seen it before, amazing, right? But they haven't really changed in those 38 years. And I think, I went there the other day and I was just like, oh my God, why are people still saying this is the best restaurant in London when it's just £60 for a plate of pasta, which is not worth it?
Yeah, I think ingredients are, in a way, they've been shared. Like you can get a lot. Like before, I guess, you couldn't get like a lobster. Or like an amazing lobster dish or an amazing pasta dish or an amazing burrata in a restaurant that will not be like a fine dining, like fancy restaurant. Where now, because you can just use the same supplier and people have access to all these recipes, you don't have to work in France for 20 years to know how to make that like a sauce. Like you can just ask ChatGPT, Yeah. So then that is something that makes food a bit more accessible in a way, as you said. And then also that, like if you can just go to this restaurant in like a corner, like somewhere, like some corner somewhere, and just have this amazing lobster dish that is literally the same but with a cheaper plate than in the other one that is like this like wow fancy like expensive like plate of food with like the tablecloth and all these things that you're saying. Yeah. That doesn't make sense, That it's like, okay, well, I just gonna have it in the corner there, Yeah. So then that is kind of like what's happening at the moment.
I do think that so we've been doing TOPJAW for over 10 years now, since 2015. Yeah, we totted it up. We reckon we filmed about 2,000 restaurants now over the 10 years, and I do think the gap between casual and fine dining or the top end has got so much smaller. Like just to your point, the quality. And the expectation of what you have at that midpoint price level is better than it ever has been. And like even filming the show, I'll be in New York eating Noksu, which is this in a subway station. It's a little 12-seat restaurant, Korean, Japanese. And the meal I had there, they just won a Michelin star, like awesome. And they're working really, really hard. And it is quite novel, right? You go into a New York subway station and then you have to put a little pin code on the door and then it's kind of speakeasy style, right? And who doesn't love that? But then I went and had a meal at Red Hook Tavern, which is not a Michelin star place. That's very much like a casual sort of like, not steakhouse, but sort of 1930s style taverna place. And it's just so much more enjoyable than that other spot. And I think for a long time that was never the case. You had to go to those places to have that flavour, that texture, whatever. But that gap is closing.
Yeah. What are some of then the unsung spots that you wish would get more attention in London? What are the places you guys have noticed recently that you think are going to be brilliant going forward?
Brilliant going
forward. Up and coming?
Up and coming, yeah. Some spots or that exist that people just don't talk about enough.
You're underrated.
Underneath the radar.
Oh, like the stuff I write?
Sure, yeah.
Give it all away.
Cinder.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know whether anyone's read that article that I wrote, but you're right. But Cinder is so good. But because there's only one in St John's Wood and there's one in Belsize Park, a little 14-seat restaurant. Oh my God, it's so good. It's all cooked over fire. He does this salmon dish that I wrote about where they get the cedar plank and they soak the cedar plank, right? And they get this salmon fillet that is marinated in soy, citrus, and maple syrup. And then they put this salmon fillet on the cedar plank, stick it into the fire. So basically, as the steam from the cedar plank evaporates, it steams the fish whilst also roasting it. And holy shit. that you eat that salmon, you're like, salmon is now ruined because of this Cinder salmon.
That's great.
I think it's underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Santiago, anywhere you've been recently that you think people need to know about?
What's the name? I think the name is I think it's Kisuri.
Okay.
It's in Brixton. So I went to this place. It's a sushi place that he's a Colombian guy actually again for some reason, and his mom is Thai, and they used to be a Thai restaurant, but they changed it to be Japanese. So he trained in Japan and stuff like that. And what I like about the place is that it's just it's like it's almost like a stand-up comedy with food. You know, like it's just like the guy is like the funniest guy, and that is what I like about sushi. Like sometimes when you go to the sushi bars, that the chef is like so charismatic and funny, and they're like making fun of everything and everyone, and it's like, and the food is delicious.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've been there. It's really good.
Yeah, you've been. Yeah.
He took a smoke break in the middle of service.
Yes.
You're sitting there going, "Where is he?" He's outside smoking a cigarette.
But it's so funny, right? I love that place.
Well, let's talk about that performance element. One of the hardest things to get right in a dining room, I think, is atmosphere, is that sense of fun. How can you conjure good atmosphere, Sandia, do you think?
I think everybody has really great energy in themselves already when they go to a restaurant because, like my dad said, everybody's looking for a great time. So they go out looking for a great time. And our job is to bring it out of them when they're in a restaurant. And if I wasn't in hospitality, I'd probably be a CSI investigator.
Wow.
Because I feel like it's the same job, because when the guests come into our dining room, my job is to figure them out. Why are they here? Where did they come from? Did they have a rough journey on the way here? Do they need to go by a certain time because they have babysitters to go back to? And the very basic thing about being a CSI, now I talk like I know, is you never jump to conclusions. You never say, I know who did it, without trying to find the clues first. So our job is to find the clues, is to never assume, to always find little information about you, and then connect the dots, and then create energy. So Santiago will come, I'll know he's from Mexico, some other couple down there, their kid might be on their way to study in Mexico, and I make that connection, and then the energy starts flowing. And then energy is contagious, so...
The mariachi comes.
Yeah, energy is contagious too. I find that sometimes when people come in and they start ordering big bottles of wine, all of a sudden the other table starts ordering big bottles of wine. But my job is to create that, keep that energy going through me, through the staff, and then it all just spreads.
Right.
And it's good fun.
I think, well, for us it's like when we, before we open the restaurants, well, I have 2 restaurants now. The first service, we invite the friends and the family of the staff. Like real, like the friends and family of everyone. Like from the KP to the sous chef to the general manager. And I think it was, because sometimes they do like only like press or friends and family of like the owner only, you know. But then that is something so special because they can serve their family, like the real family, their real friends. And I think, you know, what is the most challenging thing is to really care, you know, because at the end of the day, you can say anything that you want to say about you want people to have a good time, but the people that are there every single day to care for every single person, it's hard. You know, so then I think what it makes the difference is for people to have a culture of hospitality, to really genuinely care and believe that the people that are coming, imagine that is your girlfriend coming, you know, like, or well, no, maybe not your girlfriend, but imagine that is, you know, like your friend or like your family. You are going to be excited and passionate about doing this one special thing that you know that they like. And that's why what Sandia is saying is really important, that there's something that you know about them can make a massive difference in their experience. So to generally care is the most important thing. But you could say, I don't know, like to have good, like, I don't know, like to have cool uniforms, or to put low lights and maybe and make it sexy, or I don't know, like, but the music, but the atmosphere of a great restaurant makes it when the people that are there care generally, you know, I think.
Yeah, that's great. What do you think, Jesse? What do you love when you walk into a dining room?
I think, just to extrapolate on that point, I think that is the case. I was being interviewed about CAF aesthetic, right? Why is everyone loving E. Polici's and Regency and whatever? And I think so much of it is that we really inherently, whether we know it or not, whether we like are aware that we're going into a restaurant, if the owner is there, like if the owner has a real hand in things, and it might be them just working the room, it might be them behind the bar, it might be them in the kitchen, but if the people are there that really care, it will just infect that place in a really good way. And I think that's where, you know, you go to E. Polici's, there's loads of cafes in London, but you go there and it's so lively, it's chaotic, they're just shouting, it's their mums in the kitchen, they're like Anna and Nev are working the room, and you can't help but just be completely like intoxicated by it and like, oh, this place is really different, don't know why. And I know it's a little bit of a cliche, and I really hate to bring it up, but the Devonshire, right? The reason why, I mean, yeah, you know, it's really twist and turn that place. It's had quite a journey over the past 18 months. But one of the main reasons why it was different is because Osh is there all the time. His family live in the New Forest, and he's got a flat on Dean Street, so that he can go and have a 3 p.m. nap to 4 p.m, because that's when everything's quiet, and then goes back to the pub and keeps working it. And he's always looking at it, he's always on it, and that's why the Giddy Grill was great when he was there, and that's why it's not so good, now he's left. Yeah. And I think that old school like pub landlord, where you have someone that's big character, slightly eccentric, not going to take any shit, you know, but is going to give you that experience, is going to give you that like fun time. I think that's what makes places really special, and whether you know it or not, that's why somewhere feels good. If you walk in somewhere and it's a chain restaurant or it's managed by a GM or whatever, it's an uphill battle to ever get that soul, I think.
We have a saying in our restaurant that Tesco's have customers, but we have guests, because we're not selling a product, we're selling relationships and friendship, really. And they're not just customers paying for something.
Of course, yeah.
Also mezcal.
Mezcal. Mezcal helps.
That helps, doesn't it?
It doesn't matter, you know.
I followed down that trap.
If everyone having mezcal, everyone is happy. You know? Not everyone is having mezcal all the time. So.
Yeah, that's very good advice. It's interesting you mentioned the Devonshire, because that's an amazing place, I think. Great food, great drink. But there's a sort of an Instagram effect, a perception of one at least, that made it very hypey and very, very busy. How has Instagram and TikTok and this idea of hype restaurants sort of changed the dining culture of London? I was in New York, and there were baffling queues to get one very specific slice of cacio e pepe pizza. And I think every single person who I saw at the end of the line looked underwhelmed, because how can anything justify a 2-hour queue? And I think they're doing it just for the photo. Is that seeping into London, do we think?
I feel like it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because it's quick. You know, back in the days, we would have to wait for a restaurant critic to come in and review, and then a couple weeks later, you get a review out on a paper that has a very small audience. But now it's so quick. Somebody Jesse comes and does an interview,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden your business booms,
Yeah.
you know, and you get the attention so quick. But then at the same time, you get people, like you said, that just come because they want a ticket off their list. So we constantly get a lot of guests in kitchen table who just come because they need to be seen there, and they come and they take their pictures and pretty much just leaves, you know. And it's not the idea of our restaurant, and so, you know, good and bad, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the good about these people is that they don't complain. They just go, they take picture. They don't care, but they also don't complain, you know.
Okay.
They have their picture, you know, they post it. You know. No, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, I think. Yeah, I think people should be a little bit like, because, I mean, like the care is mutual.
Yeah.
Like the guests should care as well. Because then when the guests don't care, then also, you know, it doesn't really flow as naturally, you know, the experience, you know. So yeah.
I think that with TOPJAW, we're really careful about where we feature. And yeah, we'll do a little bit on like a new opening, but that's largely if we know the chef or the people behind it, we think it's going to be good. We're not just chasing every Warren for like, oh, what's hot right now? We don't really ever profile anywhere that like has a queue or is that type of thing that would create queues. Like Crunch Sandwiches that's just opened up. Like their PRs all over us, like, come down and do the... Nah. Because all that is it's a queue chaser.
Right.
And there are lots of business, like you got Spud Bros, that's a queue chaser. Yeah. The cacio pepe, whatever is the thing, the pizza thing, you can just so see it when something's designed to get a lot of like social media attention straight off the bat, and they might launch with a line of merch, which is always a fucking bad sign. But we just avoid anything like that, and we just want to go to genuinely good people who are doing really good stuff, making really tasty food. And we'll quite often profile a restaurant that's been open a year, and we'll still sort of position it as like, this is quite new, but just because they're doing really good things. And also that we get told, oh, Devonshire, you created all this thing. But we filmed in Devonshire twice. Mm. We filmed at Goldie's in Kingley Court twice. They don't have 600 gilet bros waiting outside it every day. So it's just sometimes things just catch a fugazi, right?
Yeah.
You know?
The restaurant has to deliver.
Well, yeah, and like, you know, the Devonshire is the Avengers of hospitality, but not to keep talking about them. It's like, there are lots of places. Goldie's is another underrated one.
Great spot, yeah,
That
lovely.
will be my next article.
Wonderful. Jesse's writes a column for us, by the way, at Gentleman's Journal. I should say that. Talking of print publications, actually, what about on the other side of things? Are there still sort of 5 or 6 broadsheet gatekeepers who can make or break the fortunes of restaurants? And Sandia and Santi, what is your relationship like with critics in general?
Yeah, I love. No, I mean, like, it's a lot of, I think that there's like different types of critics, and as a chef, you're exposed to a lot of feedback and a lot of criticism from everyone all the time. So then you just need to kind of live with it in a way, because you're mostly if you're like creating something. You're not like replicating something, you're actually doing something that is like your idea, then everyone can really criticize you. But that's what you get. Critics that are journalists, that they work for a newspaper, and they have experience of going to places and like national and international. I think it's good. Like, I think it's good for them to come and they tell you, like, obviously at the beginning it hurts, you know, like if it's something wrong, it's like, oh, but then you think about it and you digest it, and then pretty much all the time it has some truth on it, and you're like, okay, it's fine. Like, but then there are some other people that are more like bloggers or they take it personal, or like that they criticizing you personally. Right. You know, it's like, and then that is something that is a little bit unfair, or like sometimes people just do that without having to have without understanding the whole picture or being trained for to do that, like professionally. And that's something that is not okay. Like I think if you're not a professional critic, you should give like feedback that is like honest feedback that like it's a free world, but without being like, you know, without stabbing. You know? Like,
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. You know.
Okay. What about you, Sandia? How have you found the critical landscape?
I think it's good. I mean, I feel like because we put ourselves out there, we're open to criticism. Everybody has their opinion, and it's just really important, especially at the beginning when we opened, that when you do read these reviews, you don't take everything they say personally and immediately go back into the kitchen and change everything, because you don't have to listen to everything and change everything, or else you lose yourself. So it's really hard at the beginning when you're new and you're trying, you know, putting your ideas out there, and all of a sudden everybody's like, this is not right, that's not right, or this is good. You really have to stay true to yourself at the end of the day and stick to what you believe is right.
Very good advice for everything, I think. Before we open up to questions from all of you, I'd like to ask you all, I said at the start that everyone's got a restaurant in them. This is the age of restaurant literacy. I'm sure that everyone out here has works in hospitality or wants to, perhaps. What would be your one piece of advice for people starting out in this industry today? Let's go down the line. Santi, starting with you. No pressure.
I think that's what we said, that is a marathon, no? Like not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And I think that is very important to have to bear in mind that, you know, let's just say it's like 10 years doing that, and Sandia doing like years. Like it's a profession that sounds that is just, oh, we're just open a restaurant, or I just gonna, you know, like be a chef or work in hospitality and own it, mm-hmm. and be at the top and be successful and stuff like that. But it just never, like, you have to really invest the time and understand that it's a long game and to love it regardless of the failure or the success, you know? Because at the end of the day, for it to work, you have to be there. And if you are there and you don't enjoy it, and it's not the most incredible thing that fills your whole spirit and life, it's probably not the right thing. But also, there is other ways that you could work in hospitality that is not only to be a chef and having a restaurant. And I think that they can be explored with a better lifestyle and different things that you can do. You know, so just find and pick the thing that you like, that you really love, and then just do it for a long time. That's
Brilliant.
What I'm saying.
Brilliant advice. Sandia?
I think it's very important to make friends, lots of friends, especially in the industry. If you come into hospitality, you keep people close to you because the support is so important. You know, even people like Santiago, you know, like even though we don't see each other, it's nice to know that there's somebody out there who's gone through the same thing. And whenever you need advice, you can ask and reach out, and they'd be happy to help you. And you can't do it alone in this industry.
That's great advice. Jesse, what do you think?
I'm a bit of a fraud here because I'm not in hospitality.
Oh, still part of.
No, you're not. But you work around hospitality. You know, you made your living.
Food, you know, like it's one of those things that you can pick. Like,
okay,
it's really
well,
hard.
I think that people who do really, really well in hospitality are quite well travelled, and it's not from like a really privileged, expensive travelling, but lots of people have just gone and done a bit of sofa surfing and worked, you know, in a bit of Italy or a bit of America, just to sort of see what else is out there. Because London we're so spoilt, right? It is culturally like one of the most rich places on earth, and our hospitality scene is crazy good. But other places are so different, and I think if you have experience at any level of hospitality in different parts of the world, you come back with just an amazing toolkit of experience and knowledge and enthusiasm. So yeah, if I was working in hospitality, that's what I'd do.
Excellent. I think that's all pretty good advice for life. This is kind of almost therapeutic. Thank you guys for being up here. Right, should we go out to the audience? I think there's a floating, yes, there he is, Harvey.
Who's a floater?
He's a floating mic.
Yeah.
Who wants to start? Oh my word. This gentleman here, oh, that's easy, right at the back.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
We mentioned sort of social media and sort of its effects, but what do you feel like there's a lot of discount app and restaurant discovery apps that have come out as well. What kind of effect is that having, and will it continue to have?
Great question.
I don't know from, obviously I don't run a restaurant, but I do know what you're talking about. There are lots of those early doors. There was, I think there's an app called First Table, where they would sell the first at 5 p.m. if restaurants wanted they could get someone in for half price or something. And I quite like that because that's answering a problem. There's a new app called ResX, I don't know how they want to pronounce it, but ResX, where say you book a restaurant and you've got a £60 per head cancellation fee and you really need to cancel it. The restaurant really needs that money, and I know that lots of people are like, oh, fuck, cancellation fee. But the restaurant's margins need that fee. But this ResX, you can then put that table up and say, oh, I've got this table going tomorrow night or tonight or whatever. Do you want it? And then there's you take it over. So the transaction, there's no cancellation fee for the person cancelling, and the restaurant still gets the table full. And that's great because it's answering a problem, I think. Santiago's shaking his head. I'm sure we'll get to that. But then all of the other, just all these other discount apps, I think they'll just come and go. Because I feel like even in the 10 years, I've just seen so many people trying the whole taste card thing in a cooler way, or is a hotel one, and they just don't necessarily get the traction because it might be exciting at first, and they'll get a handful of good restaurants or whatever, and then over time the restaurant's like, well, I'm busy enough now, and piss off, and then they just sort of start to crumble a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit inconsistent, I guess, but we don't do that as much. But I think it's one of the really good thing of the future, right? Mm-hmm. So I think people are more into technology, so we should be looking into that more, how to be part of that online community for the new kids. No, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good answer.
Insightful.
Sandia, what do you think of apps?
We don't use it as well, but I feel like if a restaurant is using discounts and they're already in trouble, so instead of discounting, you should really look within how to fix the problem and get more guests in. But there are really great. I feel like this ResX is a great platform to newer things for restaurants, fine dining restaurants like us, to fill seats or last minute cancellations.
Excellent. Right. There's lots of questions now. Oh my word. Who are you closest to? This chap here, and then we'll definitely get to you.
Hello. What do you think about the improvement of technology, like blenders and all different kitchen appliances that you can find?
I love that.
Helping small cafes, small restaurants to develop, to open and access better quality food.
Nice. Yeah, what's the best bit of kit going now?
Well, I have, I can do my plug now. So I love champagne, and I've always wanted to get people to drink more champagne. And we do a tasting menu, so...
It is a problem.
But the Coravan, I don't know if people know about the Coravan, which is a needle that goes into a wine, so you can just pour a little bit and keep it for the rest of the day.
Champagne, haven't they?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
And now I can, they came out with a new one for champagne because champagne's bubbles and you can't put a needle through the cork. But with this new technology, now I'm able to offer a flight of champagne every night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about wastage. And it's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Is that the biggest innovation in champagne?
In my life, yes. I mean, chefs can talk about blenders, but in my life, yes.
Okay, that's huge.
I love blenders.
You got a couple of blenders?
I mean, I think there is a lot of innovation in the big scale, for scaling up, different, the bread pan. I mean, it's gonna be really chef technical, but this massive pressure cooker that you can use as a plancha, but also as a big pot or a fryer or a pressure cooker. But I think there is also other things that you can do now, like ice cream, in the moment and super quickly with nitrogen and different things. But I think for me, the most interesting thing, more than hardware, is the software. Like the fact that like AI can really help like developing things quicker. Yeah. Also, you can put the VR and see how you're measuring things without scale, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Are those glasses
I don't
VR?
do it, but I saw it that you can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Jesse, what about you? Have you got a favorite gadget?
Oh,
This is now just...
other than a caravan. You mean at home? Favorite gadget at home?
Yeah.
Do you know what I use, which is really, really bad? Sometimes.
Microwave?
A what?
Microwave?
A microwave? No. Even worse. Sometimes I use an air fryer.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've got one.
It's like the chef. I don't know why it's a chef's enemy, but it's really good for doing things really quick. I don't cook at home, Joe.
Okay, we should be sponsored by... There should be some affiliate links for air fryers and the other things. Right, and Caravan, definitely. This lady at the front here has had her hand up. Thanks, Harvey. Run? No, I'm joking.
So obviously you guys are all very like interested in food, but how do you feel that a drinks menu or offering like reflects on the restaurant? Obviously I know there was Bubbledogs, but sort of how important do you feel it is? And if say you went to a restaurant and all they served was water, how would that change the experience?
Oh, that's great. Could you do fine dining without mezcal or wine or champagne?
Well, there is a restaurant called Brooklyn Fare in New York, way back in the days when they opened without a alcohol license. So they didn't have anything, just water, but people got to bring their own bottles, and that created an amazing atmosphere. But I feel like the drinks is very important, of course. It really reflects the characteristic of the restaurant. And I feel like you can tell a good restaurant from a bad restaurant by their drinks offering, because bad restaurants will just offer drinks with no personality and no thought into it, and no connection to the food or the atmosphere. Well, a good restaurant thinks about everything on that drink list. You know, some of the best non-alcoholic cocktails I've had was at Santiago's restaurant, and it's so thoughtful. And the wine list is so well put together, and the wines all match the food that they serve. So it's super, super important.
Yeah, I think, thank you. Like, there is a lot of guests, and again, with the new generations, they don't drink as much alcohol. Like, there's a lot of people that they just don't want to drink alcohol. I understand, like, I don't drink alcohol all the time. You know, like, you can't, you know, you just can't perform 100%, or like, if you like drinking during the week as well. So then people that would need to drive. So there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of, like, a big part of audience that they don't drink alcohol. We do have wine. We have wine pairing. We have a cocktail pairing. We have a mezcal pairing. And we have also a wine list and a drinks list and an agave menu and spirits. But then I think, yeah, as you said, like, a non-alcoholic drinks, I think, is a very interesting thing. Like, for a long time, it's been the juice pairing. But the juices, like, juices make you feel like not want to eat more, like, for some reason. So they have a lot of sugar, you know, like, and then, so then creating non-alcoholic drinks, I think, is one of the things that we're so fascinated with, like, using kombuchas and different kefirs and different, well, like a mixture of like cold brews with like, I don't know, like other things that you can add to do not only teas but also have a tea as a base, and then add either infusions or syrups or whatever you have in season to create an experience that it becomes more organic, because you're cooking food.
Yeah.
You're not cooking the wine, you know, like the wine you buy, and then it's like, well, the guy comes, he knows a lot about wine, and you, like, I don't know a lot about wine, but then someone knows really a lot about wine, and then they choose the wine, but they don't do it themselves. So then I think one of the most amazing things about non-alcoholic drinks is that they create them, you know, with the seasonal ingredients, and they're actually good for you, you know?
I do quite like the idea, though, of a restaurant going, it's only water. No BYOB. It's all about the food.
London Tap. That's good.
London Tap. I don't think it would work.
Okay.
But I like the idea.
Yeah.
It would be hard to make a profit with that.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see. Maybe someone will run with that here. Yes, we'll start here and then we'll go around. Lots of questions. This is great.
Thank you. As business owners, you're talking about how important it is to make sure that your staff care. Once you've expanded from maybe having 1 to 2 and you can't have your eyes all over everything all the time as much as you'd like to clone yourself so you can see what's happening in both places, how do you make sure that the people that are working when you're not there care as much as you do about what's going on?
Great question.
That's a tough. I want to know as well. No, but you try to install and keep your senior level staff members as long as possible, so they're like a replica of you, and hopefully they will then teach, and show the rest of the team. But I find, because I'm American and I love quotes and cheerleading, and I have a little board up in the restaurant where it's all these the ethos of the restaurant, 5 points that really means the most important thing to us. 1, Tesco has customers, we have guests, things like that hopefully everybody will understand, and that's what everybody should live by. It's like a little abbreviated Bible.
That's great. Can you give us another one?
Yeah, go on.
Give us all 5.
Cheerleader.
No, just one, maybe.
One, and it's quite important to us, is do not waste. It says waste not. Basically, don't waste your energy on things. If you're gonna do something, try to do 2 things at the same time. And if you're a chef in the kitchen and you're prepping, don't throw the end of a vegetable out, because that could be used for something else, And that's our ethos. Don't waste anything. Don't waste your own time. If you're coming into work, come in 100%. Don't waste getting up from bed and making the journey through the tube to come here and only give me 50%.
Great.
I think to be humble and build an environment of trust and respect, because if you are trying to control everything, then it backfires you. Because in the moment that I know that to be there is very important, but in the moment that you're not there, then people feel not confident, And I think confidence is key. People have to be confident when you're there and when you're not there, and the key of that confidence is trust. Because if you don't trust your team, they don't feel empowered. And they don't feel that they are capable. They don't feel capable to deliver what your dream is. At the end of the day, we dream in places, and we dream in the atmosphere and the food and the experience, and the team is there to deliver that dream to the guests. So then it's very important to build trust and be humble, because if you want to get all the credit all the time for everything and try to make sure that every single person knows that you know more than them, that is what happened in some places. That is going to grow a lot of respect to you, but is not going to build that trust, So yeah, I think that's very important.
Great. Do you have 2 restaurants? No.
Hannah does, yeah. She's making the best pizza in London, Dohan's.
Oh, amazing. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
she's fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, that's good. Brilliant. Well done. Who was
Patience as well.
Patience, yeah.
Hello. So I think one of the general themes that I've noticed is that we've all spoke about how restaurants have become more casual and have steered away from formality. So I guess even a waiter has to be a bit more impressionable. So how do you actually teach intuition like that to your front of house staff? And more generally as well, I think your point was about the anchovy and the fennel dish. Even for chefs, how are you actually going to be able to pass on that knowledge and that intuition onto a chef, especially when you're considering that the talent pool is becoming a lot smaller in this country? Thank you.
Wow, that's a great question. Big question.
I can only answer for the front of house, how casual. To me, a fine dining restaurant and a casual restaurant, the service should always be the same. You treat everybody the same way. And I always tell our staff, hospitality is essentially when a guest walks through your door at a dinner party at home, you greet them. You take their coats, you make sure they have food, they have water, they're having a great time. And when they leave, you grab their coats, say goodbye to them at the door and say thank you. And that's it. That's really it. No matter if it's our fancy kitchen table restaurant or, or a bakery cafe down the road, it should always be the same. Just care like they're your own guests in your own dinner party at home. That's it.
What was the kitchen question?
If you can't give everyone the anchovy, that experience of the anchovy moment, how do you teach?
What do you mean, like
skills
teaching simplicity?
Right.
Is that what you mean? Like teaching
Yeah.
how to be.
Like more relaxed. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is that I actually, it's two different things, Like, I think when you're working in fine dining, it's art, Like, depends on which kind of fine dining, because, like, the one that we're saying that is a bit old school is the one that is quite robotic, that is like a formula. Everyone has to have a tartlet, and everyone has to have a bouquet with the lettuce and the gems, and everyone has to chawamushi, and everyone has, everyone has, and it's a formula, and it's so then when you work in something that is more artistic, it is at the same time it's more difficult for people to be natural. It's more difficult to ask an actor to act natural than to overact and be like, okay, well, you're the bad guy in this like action scene. That's easier than be like, okay, well, you're just this random guy like asking for like whatever, like something like a coffee or something. So then I think it is very important for us to try to train the team to be natural, to feel that what they do, it's natural to them. And it's from the food to the service, as again to like for them to understand it, to be in the role. We actually have a lot of waiters that are actors, like part-time, or that they wanted to be an actor and they couldn't, or they just rather to be in hospitality, but because it's a performance at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you need to act natural. In terms of the food, at the end of the day, it's food. Like it's good ingredients. If you care about the ingredients, people will be happy cooking them or plating them in a more casual way if that's what they want. But it's very difficult to have the same person doing a different thing. Like if you're into fine dining, you want to do fine dining, and you want to get your tweezers, and you want to make something beautiful. If you want to do like you slice like a whole like a porchetta and like put like a mash in the side, it's a different passion,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely. Right, one final question. We've got Josh Lee here. Josh Lee, a brilliant restaurant writer, actually. Commission him. Although he's leaving Gentleman's Journal, so no, don't commission him.
A lot of hospitality is about, how the guest feels, but where is the industry at in taking care of the people who work in restaurants? Are we at a good place, and what's left? What do we have to do left? What's left to do, sorry.
I think we're at a really good place. I think mental health is a big issue, and because everybody knows that the hospitality industry is very intense, and there's a lot of mental health that needs to be addressed. And we have a great organization called Kelly's Cause that really helps restaurateurs like us help our staff to be better performers and to make them feel better in this industry. And one of my favorite things I always make sure when I open a restaurant is to have a really nice staff room. Because, sometimes we work in restaurants, there's nowhere to change. There's not even where to put like a shirt that your manager says you has to be nicely ironed, but there's nowhere to hang or iron. And I feel like the more you take care of your staff, the more they'll get back to you. And that's just it. There's no other way about it. You got to care for them to care.
Yeah, I think all the other, not all the other, but like other industries, they've been having a more of a evolutionary, like a better progression than hospitality. I think hospitality got like when everyone got more tools. I think there is something to learn from tech companies and from like you shouldn't have I think you have to give the tools for your managers as well. I think no one teach you how to be a sous chef, or no one teach you how to be a head chef. and no one teaches you how to manage people. And I think it's one of the worst things about hospitality, that the way that the managers treat their team, because it comes from the top, yes, but also it kind of like goes down to the end of it. So management training is very important, to send people to learn how to be managers and how to work with teams and work with other people and how to motivate them, and also so like that you can create a better environment and make development plans for people to grow. I mean, it's very difficult because we work with very tight margins, so we don't have a lot of time to do these kind of things, but it's very important to care so you can be a bit more civilized in a way that we operate restaurants with the staff. I think that's important.
Absolutely. Jesse, anything to add?
What, looking after
No.
your hospitality team?
I don't know.
Oh, we have a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
They're great.
look after people, do you?
Yeah. Ish.
Ish.
No, I'm joking. Our team's great. Our team's great. It's growing. People are always, whenever someone goes, "Oh, Will, the editing's all really great," and he sometimes takes the compliment, even though Will hasn't edited our stuff since like 2016. But we've got a really great team of like editors and producers who are like working on getting our content out all the time. But they're great. But it's interesting, really, isn't it? Because in hospitality, I did work in hospitality a bit, and you very much are just shunned. It's like, you do your job out here. This is the nice bit where the customers are and everything. Guess, sorry, oops. But then the staff says you just got like a cupboard or like a locker room or whatever. Whereas every other industry, you don't have that. Like, you don't go to work, and instead of your desk, you've just got like a little janitor's closet that you're sort of jumping around in. But then again, space is expensive.
I don't think Jesse realized that he actually takes care of hospitality people.
Lovely.
Because he gives the public an insight of who we are and what we do. And I actually took a lead from your book because you ask questions that people want to know about us. And I thought, well, maybe people want to know about our staff. So every once in a while in a newsletter, I would interview our staff. Nice. What's your favorite football team? If you were a fish, what kind of fish would you be? And it's paying attention to your staff. And I feel like you pay attention to what we do is almost the same way as we pay attention to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's lovely. What kind of fish would you be?
Me?
Yeah.
I'd be a puffer fish.
Good choice.
Because I can be cute, but if you poke me, I would blow up.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thanks, everyone, for being here. That's a great note to end on. But thanks especially to our wonderful panel, Jesse, Sandia, and Santiago. Let's give them a wonderful round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you so much.